So after months of indecision, MPs have finally voted for a general election.
Labour backs a general election,
which means an end to the political stalemate here in Westminster.
We will not allow this paralysis to continue.
But while they and us political journalists prepare to head out on the campaign trail, what does that mean for Brexit? MPs said no to Boris Johnson when he tried to get his Brexit bill through the Commons in just a couple of days.
so the noes have it.
Which means he paused the whole process in its entirety.
Mr. Speaker, I must express my disappointment that the House has again voted for delay.
So now there's an election, that means no Parliament, no MPs, no debates, no votes, and no Brexit bill. But all those tortured hours of debate about Brexit in the Commons chamber might not be wasted if Boris Johnson wins the election. If he's back in number 10 and the Conservatives have a big majority, he'll bring his Brexit bill back to the Commons just over my shoulder, and he'll have enough MPs to get it through a vote, which means it will finally become law and the UK will leave the European Union. But just when you thought Brexit was over, it isn't. If Boris Johnson gets that Brexit bill through, then he has to still come back to the Commons to talk about the future trading relationship. And that means more debates and more votes in Parliament until he can get an agreement with the EU on the future relationship.
We drink more Italian wine than any other country in Europe, 300 million litres of Prosecco.
And if Boris Johnson doesn't win, well, it could be a Labour government led by Jeremy Corbyn.
Today, we launch the most ambitious and radical campaign our country has ever seen.
And his first plan is to tear up the agreement that Boris Johnson reached with the European Union and try and get his own. He'll be hopping on a Eurostar off to Brussels to try and start those talks all over again if the European Union allow him to. And once he's got a new deal, if he gets one, then he'll bring it back to Parliament and finally take it out to the country in a second referendum to see what everybody else thinks of his new deal. And if none of the parties get a majority, it'll be a hung Parliament, which for many people is a complete nightmare because it probably means more delay and more indecision. Parties would have to come together to find a way forward, which would likely mean a compromise on Brexit. Whoever gets into number 10 will have to work to a deadline, and that's the 31st of January next year. That's the point at which the EU's extension given to the UK runs out, and they've warned it could be our last. There needs to be a new deal by then, a new extension if one is allowed, and if there isn't, then the UK may be leaving with no deal.